Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing, testing. Good morning, everyone. Hope you can hear me. Right. Good morning, Dem. Good morning, Leo. Good morning, Wiggy. And good morning to Donna. And also to Jackie. And over on YouTube, good morning to Victoria and to two women. I hope YouTube can hear me as well. Excellent. Right, just to explain, probably most of you haven't heard me yet on the channel. I have appeared a couple of times on lives. I was on the premiere on YouTube last night, and here we are live, just to prove I'm live. There you go. Just clear something off the screen. No, doesn't want to clear, but never mind, we'll carry on. As you can see, it is absolutely chucking it down here this morning again, outside. I thought this might occur because I saw the weather forecast. So I've actually been given a present. Which is this. I have absolutely no idea, apart from that it's got seeds in it, as to what's in here. Now, knowing the person who's given this to me, you might not always judge by what's actually on the outside of the box as to what's inside the box. But it looks like it's never been opened, so I'm going to hope that it says what it says on the outside of the box. Yeah, I could rip it open, but where's the suspense in that? So it's been sitting around for about a couple of weeks now, amongst all the other seeds I've got, and at some point I've got to sort through all the seeds because some of them need sowing in the next couple of weeks. So I'm never that keen on unboxing videos, but this is a live stream, so that doesn't count. So I suppose we might as well get on with it before everyone gets bored, including myself. So, pair of scissors, just Hello D over on YouTube. So there you go, that's what it looks like. And so it is. I hope you can see that okay. I can always enlarge it if you want it enlarged. In fact, actually I probably will enlarge it slightly. Hopefully that you get a better view. So I don't know, apart from it's a bumper pack, obviously I'm not quite sure it is a bumper, but take it out and that's what we've got. So you're seeing this as the first time as I am. So this company, Thompson Morgan, is a UK based company in East Anglia, and they've been around I wouldn't like to say how long, but hundreds of years. And they also they also own, or they're joined with a number of other seed companies in the UK as well. Lots of the old famous ones, and all operate under a sort of general, under their own brands, but I think they're all selling very much the same sort of stuff really. But so we might as well plough on with this, considering it's chucking it down with rain, and if I don't plough on it, it'll be lunchtime before I know, and we'll open it. So what do we have in here? So we have all the packets of seeds, and something else in here. Oh, empty box. And also in the box was this, which is, so take it out of the packet. It's obviously just a mini pair of snips. Hang on, I'm trying to get that in focus. Actually, be careful with those because they're very sharp. Yeah, very sharp, and obviously you shouldn't let sharp objects in the hands of children or bears really. So, to see if anyone else has dropped in yet. So thank you for everyone who's actually here. For obvious reasons I'll be busy doing this, so if you don't see me so much actually in the live chat, sorry for that, but feel free to chat away to each other. So right, we'll most start. Oh, Morning Blade on Twitch. You can choose, are we going to start at the top or the bottom, or in the middle? You just put something in chat as to where you want me to start. Or should I shuffle the pack first? We've got a bottom, we've got a shuffle. I shouldn't have said shuffle really, because I think that could go disastrously wrong. More shuffles. I think a middle. I have a feeling some people want to see me drop all these seeds all over the floor. I suspect that's probably revenge more than anything, but well, there are more. Now we've got a top. Yeah. I probably deserve it, Leo. And for anyone new here, if you think I'm talking to people you can't see in the chat, that's because we're running two identical streams, one on YouTube and one on Twitch. Oh, thank you two women coming in over on Twitch as well. Well, I think the general consensus was there wasn't a consensus apart from everyone. Quite a few people wanted to see me throw the seeds all over the place. So we'll have a shuffle. I'm not going to do it as professionally as a card dealer, but we'll just have a general mix up of. Oops. Right. Obviously I couldn't work in a casino like that, but we'll split the deck. If anyone, feel free to play snap if you see two identical sets of seeds. And what's that? Dee's asking. No, she isn't at the moment, Dee. Right, so we split the pack, right or left, and then we'll make a start. That's obviously right, this is left. There's quite a couple of rights. Do you think I've dragged this out long enough for the suspense? Another right. Okay, we'll make a start anyway. So we'll get rid of the left pile for the time being and we'll start on the right. Yes, left, yeah. Drum roll, please. I'm afraid so, Dem. Too slow there. Right, so we'll make a start. Now, I haven't got a clue what's in here. Some of them may be useful to me. Some I may be able to trade with other people, but we'll have a look. We'll start on the top. I'll move those up there. And this is, I don't know if you can see how clearly you can see that. If I put them there, I'll try to zoom in a bit for you. Hold tight. You might wobble a little bit. Fairly central. Can you read that on at home? Right, okay. Some people are saying, yeah, well, we'll make a start. Well, this is actually a bellis. This is actually something that's been on the channel recently. They're very good over wintering plants, and they're also perennial plants as well. This one I've not heard of, a Monterosa mix, not seen that before. The bellis plants I've got in the garden were all sown from seed, and they're very easy to grow from seed. So that's the picture of what they look like. Yeah, and then on the back is all the various instructions. So this has got a, so I'll put that back down. This has got a growing period, which is the light green. It's got a sowing period sort of in March. And this one actually says it flowers between March and July, so it's actually a summer flowering version rather than the winter flowering ones I tend to have. Oh yeah, and it's also slightly different. This is what's called a pom-pom, which just basically means the flowers are sort of have the yellow centres, but they're basically fluffy. That's all that means. Morning to Beauty Love Creative on YouTube. Just asked the question how many on the various channels. I think at the moment we've got somewhere between 8 and 10 on Twitch, and I think we've got 6 on YouTube at the moment. Strange thing is we're getting more traction on Twitch at the moment in terms of viewers. So we'll go on to the next one. Otherwise we'll be here all day. So I'll move that one up there. I'll put you properly on screen, and then I can see what I'm doing. This is Coropsis. I have grown this in the past, but to be honest, I don't know a lot about it. It's a seashells mix. It's a bit odd that, because I have grown Cosmos, which is called a seashells mix as well. And turn that over. So, I mean, this is why it's important to open these now, because this has got a sowing period of February and March. And one of the reasons to get them in early here is because we're in northern England here. The summers aren't as long as possibly other places, so you want to get your seeds in early so they get a good start, and then they can flower a little bit earlier. So this is flowering right through summer into the autumn. So that's quite a nice plant. What's it say about that? 40 centimetres high. That's quite an interesting plant. That's one I'll be keeping anyway, for definite. So we'll go on to the petals are unusual actually. The petals are very sort of trumpety, and that's actually very similar to the Cosmos I grew this year, which I think was a seashells version. So I don't know whether they're different plants, but yeah, just a coincidence probably. We'll do another one. I think there's an ad break coming in relatively soon on Twitch, so we'll do this one and then we'll just wait for that to go through. This one's a Godetia. This is a dwarf version. That looks quite pretty. Yeah, this is This is an annual plant, so this is sow this year, flower this year, and that'll be it. Again, this is a, I don't know if you can see that, the green, this green which is sowing indoors, the dark green is out when you put them out, and then the orange is when it's actually going to flower. I mean, if you ever do seeds, it's as simple as that really. You just follow all the instructions, or you just ignore it and do your best really. But this is another February one to be sown, so that's another one we'll be keeping. We'll start on this one, but if the ad break comes in, I'll pause it. Right, this is Gazania. This is one of my favourites in the garden. If you've seen the YouTube channel, you've probably seen this one many times. Not only because they're stunning. I think there's actually an ad break going on Twitch now. In fact, while there's an advert on Twitch, I'm just going to try to zoom in a bit further so people can see the see it a bit better. So for YouTube viewers, Twitch have their adverts generally in blocks, and they tend to be in blocks for about a minute and a half. So if you ever watch a Twitch stream, quite often people stop their streams for a minute and a half while they're adverts. And we'll see if Leo gets adverts for website builders. To be honest, for YouTube viewers, I haven't got a clue if you see adverts on my lives yet. I know sometimes there are adverts on the videos, but I've got no control over that. Twitch seems to have a range of adverts. It looks like today. Just give it a second for everyone to be back, and then we can plough on. Right, looks like Twitch is back from the ads. I hope everyone on Twitch is able to build a website. That's the advert I seem to get all the time anyway. So I was saying, this is Gazania. This is one of my favourites. It's a really excellent hard working flower. Flowers basically all summer. Now the good thing about this is if you've got a slightly sheltered spot, they'll actually overwinter outside as well. So I've got some Gazanias outside that I think are about probably 3 or 4 years old now, and they keep flowering each summer. Hope that's a better view for you, two women. I've zoomed it in a bit anyway, so you can actually read what's on the packet. Not seeing adverts on YouTube Live. Yeah, well, each platform's got its own mind, I think, on these things. But Twitch I think, is a bit more predictable in what it's doing on adverts. But we'll soon find out, because the YouTube channel is probably going to be monetized within the next. Well, assuming they accept the channel to be monetized, we'll certainly meet the criteria in about 10 days or so. So that's that. That's the gazanier. Now there's all sorts of different colours, and they also do stripy ones. But I say that if that's one of the probably the top 10 flowers in my garden that I grow, and we turn it over, and that's probably a bit clearer for you now. So we've got a sowing light green, which is February to April. Again, this one I'd probably do late February probably because they actually grow from seed quickly. Planting out in sort of June time, and then basically it flowers from midsummer right through to, well, probably the first frost, and even then it goes on to the frost. So that's that one. Thank you, Victoria. So that's Gallisonea. So that's on the keep pile. We haven't had any copies yet. Next one is Busy Lizzie, or basically all their proper names, Impatiens. I have those. They're very good annual plants. Again, sow in the spring, and then the flower. Excellent for pots, hanging baskets, beds. Lots of bright colours. Again, if you've seen the channel during the summer, you would have seen these. The versions I tend to grow normally are what's called New Guinea Impatiens, because the standard Busy Lizzie version is susceptible to disease and dying off quite quickly, but the New Guinea version's less likely to do that. But they're really colourful. You can see that on the packet. They're really colourful and dense plants as well, which is good for the hanging baskets. Again, this is a February to April sowing. So then they're only relatively short plants really. Probably, well, you can't see that because you can't tell, but if that's the hand, they're probably that sort of height, about that sort of height off the. They're not very big at all in terms of their actual plant size, but they won't survive the winter outside. In fact, there's no point. You just resow them. So that's on the keep pile. Next one are nasturtium. Now, I do grow these, but I've never really had a lot of luck with them. They seem to grow but don't flower, and they sort of, I don't know how to. They sort of grow like a bean, not like a vertical beanstalk, but they sort of got a tentacle, which I was going to hand motion there, a tentacle that comes out. Yeah, so I should pay more attention to what people are putting in the chat, really, shouldn't I? So I've got a joint chat running here, but it takes probably about a minute to come through on this one. So I do tend, they were quite easy to grow, but I don't have a lot of luck with them really. They're not due to be sown to March, so yeah, that's a nice colour. Because generally, if you see nasturtiums quite often, they're actually the sort of the what would be the yellow colour on their own with perhaps a little orange in it. So I'm not sure about that. It can go on that can go on the maybe pile. Because the problem I have is that if I sow everything, you just run out of space. So you have to slightly prioritise not only where you can raise all these seeds, but also where you can actually put them out in baskets and pots. There's going to be some changes to the garden this year. There's going to be a lot more pots in the garden, and we're going to lose a bit more lawn. So there will be more space for stuff to go in this year. There's not a lot of point doing anything at the moment because everything's so soggy. Yeah, Leo on Twitch is just saying that Some plants just don't like a garden, and you can't do much about it. And that's a very good attitude I have. I'll plant something. If it doesn't survive, it doesn't survive really. I'll look after it and give it what it needs. But if it doesn't like it, there's not a lot you can do about it, and you move on and find what's best for your garden over time, really. So we're on to the next one. That looks interesting. It's a dianthus, but it's a sort of frilly. I don't know if you can see. It's like a frilly dianthus. I've got quite a few perennial dianthus plants in the garden, but their pattern, leaf pattern is much more tight and compact. Yeah, yeah. Beauty Love Creative over on YouTube just saying it's a lot of seeds. Yeah, just for anyone who's come in, I was gifted an unknown box, which has got this bumper pack of seeds in it. So that's what we were gifted. So we're just going through it. So yes, this is dianthus. So that to me is interesting. I do like dianthus plants. I've never seen one that's got this sort of. I don't know how you describe that. It's almost like a feather duster type flower petal. So I know that without even looking, I know they'll be early to say. I'm just seeing if that's an annual. Yep, that is a hardy perennial. So it'll flower in its first year and it will last forever. Well, however long before something eats it or gets dug up. But that's a perennial, so that's very interesting. I do like dianthus because they have lots of flowers. They're relatively low. They're good for filling in gaps. That so far to me is probably the most interesting one we've had so far. Spider-like, yeah, it's a good description. Or fireworks, yeah. And apparently Blade over on Twitch is just saying they've planted their first bonsai. Just planting some seeds 3 or 4 weeks ago and nothing's happened. Yeah, I think anyone who's planted seeds has had that. I wouldn't give up hope at 3 to 4 weeks because some seeds take ages to come up, and it's but from my experience, planting seeds is slightly pot luck really. Next one, petunias. This is rainbow mix. I've grown these umpteen times. They've been on the channel lots of times. Fairly standard summer bedding plant. Sow this year, and then they'll flower basically until the frost does for them. Petunias have all sorts of different colours. If you've seen the YouTube channel, they appear quite a lot really because they are pretty. And I don't know whether there is in here, but there's a version called Saphinas which are slightly smaller and they tend to trail more. Petunias will trail out of a basket, but Saphinas are better at doing that. You see, that's another February, March, April sowing. And generally I'd be sowing that probably about March, sometime early March really. Because part of the problem is that you can sow these things and some of them need protection inside, and where we're filming this where I am inside the conservatory at the moment, it gets filled up with plants. I've got the green. Next one. Right, well, I'll have a guess at how you pronounce that. Agurtum. Agurturum. I don't know much about that at all, really. It says it's perfect for bedding. So there you go. That's the simple bear in me, really. It says it's perfect for bedding. Half hardy annual, so it can survive a bit of cold, but oops. So it says it's a dwarf and compact plant. It's got very similar leaves to what a petunia would have. So that's an interesting one. That would probably go on the yes pile. Just probably wouldn't grow a lot of it, but just to actually see what. Yeah, that's it. Just to actually see what it's actually like. So we'll try that. If you can hear the rain, sorry about that. Next one is an aster. Carbon mix. This is a perennial, sort of. It doesn't like extreme conditions, but it's another summer bedding plant basically, and that's probably the best way to treat it. So I was asking, yeah, this is over here is the yes pile. So we're not doing very good at rejecting anything yet. This is the maybe pile, and we haven't got a no pile yet. I think if this was a box of veg seeds, it'd be more split. Because when I started out doing the gardening, I did more veg than flowers, but over time you move on to other things, really. So yeah, aster. Yeah, have had those in the garden, not often, but yeah, that's another early sowing one, flowering late summer. Not convinced by that, really, but it can go on the maybe pile. There you go, we're evening it up. Hello, orange. Just to let people coming in now, he's absolutely chucking it down in the garden, which you can see in the background. So we're just going through a box of seeds that I've been gifted. Next one is we'll have another go at this. Monoposis. Monopoly? No, it's not Monopoly. Well, you can have a go yourself anyway. Don't know anything about that. All I know is it's got 25% extra seed. So yeah, it's got very petunia-like flowers. I don't know whether it's a. This is being sown slightly later. Yeah, baskets, containers, bedding. So it's yeah, it's a. Oh, it's a South African annual. So It's a South African plant, sort of just for the summer. Might be worth looking at to fill out the bedding. Don't know. That's on the maybe pile. It's got a beautiful colour, yeah. Next one. Everyone's probably seen that. Lobelia. Standard garden, very small flowers. Been on the channel a lot. So yeah, I tend to sow my lobelia quite early, even perhaps earlier than is on the packet. I mean, the packet says February, March, April. This is something I may be doing in the next week, 10 days. Actually, that would make it February anyway, but very good for baskets. That's why I tend to use it more. You can put it in sort of bedding and so on, but it sort of gets a bit lost in there. That's from my opinion. So I tend to use in baskets, and you can actually, lobelia can either be sort of an upright where it stays sort of bushy, or you can get sort of trailing versions. I don't know which that is. It's a this is a compact one, so it will trail a little bit, but basically this will create like a little humped bush. So we'll keep that. Next one, another summer classic, marigold. This is a strawberry blonde version. This is a version I haven't grown before, but I've grown marigolds before. They're good at filling in gaps. They're very good at attracting sort of pollinators and so on. And it's very difficult to go wrong with them, to be honest. Yeah, it's quite a fluffy marigold, this. Yeah, so again, this one's another February, March, April. The thing about all these dates really does depend on whether you've got somewhere to grow the stuff. If I'd only got sort of the outside greenhouse, you'd be sowing them sort of towards the end of that period because of the possibility of some sort of frosty weather. But because I've got a heater conservatory, I can start a bit earlier, and also that means they'll flower a little bit earlier as well. But of course, the danger of starting flowering early is they might finish a bit earlier. So you can sometimes I tend to sow in sort of batches, so a couple of weeks apart. So that's marigold. We'll save that one. Haven't got very many to give away. Next one. Well, I'll tell you how I pronounce it. Anthurium. Whether that's the way you do it, don't know. It's not something I've grown a lot of. I think I've grown it a couple of times. It's a sort of slightly spiky type plant. It's that one you can sow. Yeah, sow now. January, February, March, April. Yeah, so that's going to end up about a foot tall. They are like sort of foot tall spikes of flowers. Now it's another one on the maybe list. It's probably something, if I was choosing seeds to buy, I wouldn't necessarily buy that. But once you've got it, it's sort of, if I've got space, I might grow a few. Next one, is lavender. This is French lavender compared to the English version. I've got both in the garden. My lavenders tend to be in the front. If anyone's seen the video about the garden, showing you around the whole thing, in the front garden is a big sort of stoned rockery type. Well, it's basically a lump of concrete with stones on the top, and there's a lot of lavender in there. So I've got both the English version and the French version. You can tell the French version because it's got these sort of tufty bits on the top, and you can grow it from seed relatively easy as well. I mean, the other option to all these is you leave it slightly late. You can just through the mail order you buy little plug plants rather than buying the big plants you get in the garden centre and so on. Whether I'd grow that this year, I've got quite a lot of lavender. Some of the lavender, well, the lavender will grow a number of years, but it does become woody after time, and you do have to replace it from time to time. Yeah, it's yeah, it's got a lovely smell, and the bees love it as well. And also, actually, if you can, at the end of the summer, you can cut it back to take the dead heads off. Or actually, if you leave the dead heads on over winter, they're quite pretty just as a sort of ornamental type thing during the winter. But if you look at that one there, and there, it's got sowing period either in the spring, where it's basically right to midsummer, then again in the autumn. So that I would grow, but as I've already got some, I'd probably put that on there. There's a question there. Do I use different seeds growing soil for different seeds? The simple answer is no. I tend to use. I actually buy a specialist seed sowing compost, which is far superior to some of the stuff you get in the sort of DIY garden centre type things. There are some that require sort of growing sort of a much more gritty type thing, but for the majority of stuff I grow, it's a good quality seed compost really. I probably pay twice the amount that you could pay if you wanted to, but I found one that's really good now. It's good quality, so I'll stick with it. The other thing I do when I sow these, people do it in different ways. I suppose the classic way is you get a tray and you sow them in a tray, and then you can prick them out and put them into smaller pots and so on and grow them on from there. You can do that. I quite like growing them in sort of trays with cells in them, and then you can pull them out as little plug plants and then repot them from there. And by doing that, you've got a slightly better root system on it, and also the root system doesn't get so much damage. What I found is if you take them out of the compost, out of a big tray individually, you can damage the roots really. But next one, sweet peas. Another garden classic. Again, it's another thing I have grown. It's not something that I'm particularly keen on, but the sweet peas are interesting because lots of people swear by sowing them in the autumn, the previous autumn. Hello to 321 over on YouTube. So sweet peas for me, yeah, it's a good idea, but actually that's going to be the first no that I'm not going to actually plant. But I do know someone who does grow sweet peas, so I'll be generous enough and give that to them. And then this one is a freesia. Now, in my the previous house I was, they're beautiful flowers, and I had a lot of them in the garden. It's actually a perennial plant, but it doesn't like really cold weather. So whether it would be better here, it's very unlikely. So that I don't know, to be honest. Don't have to think about sowing the freesia until April. So I think that is going to be well, probably by the time we get to April, the greenhouse will be full, the conservatory will be full, and I won't have any room. So I think you have to take a reasoned judgment that I probably won't never get around to that, so I can probably trade that. And we'll plough on. We're onto the other pile now. So we'll see. We still haven't had any joint or any copies yet. Next one is the viola. It's basically what, if you can imagine what a pansy would look like, they're mini pansies. There's another ad break coming up on Twitch in a couple of minutes, so when we go into the ad break, I'll put a pause on for while Twitch has its ads, and I'll try to catch up a bit on the chat to see if I've missed anything, which I'm sure I have. Yeah, viola's very good winter bedding plant. This one is actually sort of spring through to, it's basically summer flowering, but you sow it in the autumn, from July to October it's saying for that one. So I do like violas. They're very nice little flowers, lots of flowers on a plant as well, nice and compact. I would probably sow those, but it's not going to be in the batch I'm doing now, so that's going to go on the trade pile. But if it doesn't get traded, we'll do something with that. Oh, sorry, Twitch went into ads, and I never noticed. Hello over YouTube while Twitch are in their adverts. They'll let me know hopefully when they're back out. My experience is that YouTube have lots of short adverts, but Twitch tend to put them in little batches every half hour or so. It looks like Twitch are coming back out of the ads now. I hope you're back from the ads. I don't know if you caught what I was saying about the viola. That's going to go on the maybe pile because it's not due to be sown until June. So that can go on the, not the maybe pile, that can go on the possible to trade, but I think we'll end up sowing those. I'll just have a quick look to see, because one thing of doing this is you don't actually pay attention to what's going on the system. Yeah, it looks like it's still working. That's a good question. Someone's just asked on Twitch, what would I trade them for? Well, I know the person I'm most likely to trade with. They're into their veg growing. Pizza. No, I don't eat a lot of pizza. That's a very good question. What would I trade them for? Well, the problem is, if I was to turn the camera around the other side of the room, which I'm not going to do, you'd see there's a box full of other seeds as well. No, I wouldn't trade it for that either, orange. Though you can grow your own. You can actually buy boxes where you can grow your own for that. Sorry YouTube, it's they're asking whether I'd trade it for mushrooms or pizza. So we'll go on to the next one, zinnia. It's another sort of, yeah, oh, planning to grow mushrooms this year. Yeah, well, you can do. You can get sort of the mushroom boxes that got compost and the spores in it to grow it. But what I've seen actually is you can sort of get logs that have been pre-drilled with the little plugs of mushroom spores in them as well. So there's plenty of options out there. Trade for what, streaming in their garden? Well, I know the person I'm thinking of, and let's put it this way: they've got no intention of allowing me to stream in their garden. So, and the other question on YouTube is, do I belong to a gardening club? Not officially, but my next door neighbour is in charge of an allotments association, which is actually just at the top of the road. So through them, they have a little sort of allotment shop where they've got a few seeds and so on, and they have a trading system. So I quite often swap stuff with her, and vice versa. Most of my stuff obviously nowadays is flowers, but obviously on the allotment she's doing more fruit, doing more veg. So there's a bit of trading already going on there. So this is zinnia, annual plant. I grew a couple this year. I don't know if anyone remembers. I can't remember when it was. Probably in the autumn. We had some really nice dark claret zinnias, and I was actually quite surprised they did quite well. Again, they flag right up until the first frost. You can see, I don't know if you can see that. It's a good indication on the bars. Whether anyone would ever read all the small print and so on, but everything's there. So I say the claret ones we did this year were almost burgundy in colour. They were excellent this year. So we'll probably have a go at that, because I did think that. So I think that'll go on the yes pile to have a go at. This one's called Morning Glory. I'm just waiting to see what comes up in the chat. Oh well, it seems everyone's been very well behaved. That one, not convinced by. I have seen it before. Yeah, am I going to? Well, it's a climate, so there's a possibility, because, as I say, we are going to have a number of pots, and some of them are going to be quite big pots. So they'll have some sort of trellis in it. Yes, thanks, Dem. might be worth a go. It really depends on what we put in the pots, really. If we were putting sort of climbers in some of the pots to begin with, perhaps not. But if we've got lower plants, that's a possibility, because then they can grow up through and around. This one, Echinops, never heard of it, but it says it's a hardy perennial. So that for me would be worth planting. I do like the hardy perennials, because most of the garden tends to be that sort of hardy perennial stuff, and then it's infilled with bedding plants and pots and baskets and so on. And the advantage of the hardy perennials is you put it in once and you get years and years out of it. And also a lot of the hardy perennials probably take very little looking after. So again, I can sow that now. The only thing about that one is that it actually only says it flowers in August. So it's it's only got a very short flowering season. That's the only thing that would put me off that, really. It's got pretty flowers though. Very similar to like an allium flower. Sort of, is it the same as echinacea? I don't know the answer to that, to be honest. As I say, as most of you know, my background isn't gardening. Or a lot of you do anyway. So we'll put that, I don't know about that, just because of its short flowering season. I'm somewhere between maybe and not. What do you think it should be in? Should it be in the maybe pile or the not pile? Maybe keep. Maybe. Right, there's more maybes than not, so no, it doesn't do anything for me. Someone says, if it wasn't such a pretty flower and it said it only lasted a month, I wouldn't be interested. But I'm being slightly convinced by the crowd. So it can go on the maybe pile, and we may be forgetting that one. Elysium is the next one. Sorry, I'll put that on screen. Elysium's the next one. This is a good compact little plant. Borders, beds. It's got very small flowers. In fact, actually, believe it or not, I've actually still got a basket at the moment that's still got these in flower. It is slightly under shelter. They look like white forget-me-nots. It's not a bad description. They're very similar. That small, very flowers. The forget-me-nots are generally blue. You can get other colours on forget-me-nots, but they're very similar. Forget-me-nots have a shorter season, tend to be earlier in the year. The Elysium will go right through the summer, and I say, if you keep them sheltered, I've still got some flowering now, so. That's a definite keep, because I've sow them anyway. So that's its name, Elysium. Nice little flower, especially if you're going to put it in the front somewhere. Then we're on to foxglove. I'll just move those out of the way. Foxglove, very tall plants. The real name's digitalis. The bees love them. You'd have seen these on the channel before, because the bees climb into the little trumpets. It's a hardy perennial. It'll last for years and years, and you cut it back and it'll come back each year. The only thing you have to be slightly careful about is they are poisonous. So obviously if you've got pets or children around, that's the main thing. And also if you're handling them, just make sure you've got some gloves on. Yeah, good for pollinators. I say that it's not the poisonous. I say the cats here aren't that fussed really about it at all. Only one of the cats goes around trying to eat stuff out in the garden. Well, they all go and try to eat stuff out in the garden, but the two of them try to eat animals out in the garden. But one only is interested in chewing on plants. But they only generally go out if someone goes out with them, so I'm not so bothered by that. But that's a nice plant they are. I've got a number of them already, but I haven't got a white one. Most of mine are either the pink or the purple versions, so that's a keep. Yeah, larkspur. We're getting towards the end. Larkspur. Not grown that before. Oh, I might have years ago, but I haven't. Certainly in recent times, I haven't. It tends to be larkspur tends to be surprised that the cat's surprised not crash the stream. No, where they're not allowed in while I'm streaming in here, because they have a tendency to go into sleep on the keyboard, and if you want to carry on streaming, that's a bit difficult. Fair to play to anyone who has cats live on stream. Plus, because it's a wet day here, they'll be asleep in different places around the house or curled up with someone else who's more interesting than I am. Larkspur, I don't know really. That says the variety of that's called the seven dwarfs. So I don't know whether that's yeah, so it's 1.5 foot that in height. That's a possibility if I've got space to try. It's not something I'm that fussed about. So we'll. I don't know. I think that'll be on the trade pile. Just having a look at the next one. Yeah, this is a Californian poppy. Yeah, there's a question from YouTube that they like different heights in the garden. Yeah, it's the same here really. The style's changed over the years. Originally it would have been very much a formal garden, straight lines, lots of similar bedding plants and so on. But that's a lot of work. So it's a much more informal. If you want the fancy way you call it, is a cottage garden style. But basically it means all just higgledy-piggledy. So yeah, in the garden there, it is sort of layered from the boundaries down and in. So, but Go about the Californian poppy. Got quite a few poppies already in the garden. They're quite good. Poppies are quite good at self-seeding. This one, look at that. This isn't due to be sown till August or September. So I think this can go on the trade pile, because we may be able to get something better than that in the short term. This is the one we were talking about a few minutes ago, Echinacea, or Echinacea. And we've had that in the garden before. This is a variety I've not seen before, Paradiso Super Duper. It's another good plant because it's a hardy perennial. Sow it, grow it, flowers, and then it'll come back the following years. It's another one, as you can see. They're quite good, the companies now, for people who aren't into their growing stuff. This is quite a good one for sort of the pollinators. That's one we'll definitely do. Tends to be on a tall stalk, and then it sort of fans out at the top. The area the bees like is right on the top. Yep. So that's another one we can sow in the spring. Again, actually, that's another one that's sort of late summer into the autumn as well. And that's the other thing when you start sowing a lot of these and working out what you're going to put where, is trying to have something that's going to flower all summer. Last summer was a disaster because it was just so dry. Everything finished so early, really. So we'll keep that one. What's the next one to do? This one is... This is a special variety that's called annual, which basically means it's a mix of stuff. So I'm guessing this one is like just a general mix of seeds. I don't know if it says what to do that. Again, it's something you would tend to do sow the seeds in the autumn. You could probably get away with chucking them out now. A lot of seeds, if you plant them in the autumn, if they get chucked out, they need sort of like a frost over the winter to sort of break the husk of the shell of the seed. So as we've only had a few days of frost here, there's probably still some more frost to come, so you could probably get away with that. I don't know if it says what's in there. Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, there's 12 in that. There's 12 different varieties, and basically that's chuck it on the ground in the autumn and see what comes up in the spring. So, and it's also got one of my favourite flowers, the cosmos, in the middle. That, because we're a little bit late, would be a trade. I would trade it, but for somehow I've managed to put a hole in the packet. So that'll go on the maybe pile, and probably what I'll do is I'll probably just chuck it out this afternoon and see what happens in the spring. Again towards the end, and then we come on to this is one of my favourites, the cosmos. If you've seen the channel, you've seen these all the time. There's loads and loads of different varieties. These sort of single ones, and there's sort of double ones, and there's curled ones, and there's every colour under the sun. And they're really, if you're going to grow for the first time, seeds for the first time, and you want something pretty in the garden, cosmos are excellent. You can get them quite tall, 2 foot something in height, or you can get quite small ones, sort of under a foot in height. But they're ever so easy. Tray of soil, stick the seeds in, and they'll grow, and they're pretty tolerant of most stuff really. They're really excellent for beginners. So in the box of other seeds, I've got loads of different varieties of cosmos this year. So this one can go and join it. I say it's not due. This is March, April, May sowing. So we'll do that. But generally, the cosmos, is very quick at coming up as well. If you sow that, it'll probably be up in probably 3 or 4 days, and then they grow very quick. So that's something I wouldn't necessarily sow earlier in the scheme of things. Then we've got a sunflower. This is Sunspot. I don't really need to say a lot about sunflowers. I think everyone knows about the sunflower. Occasionally grow sunflowers. They can be done now. I don't know what height does this say this goes to. Oh, well, that's worth doing, because obviously you can have a sunflower that's sort of 6-8 foot tall, but this one's only 40 centimetres, so just over a foot tall. And I've had some of those last year. I can't remember what the variety was last year. So they're perfectly suitable for growing in a pot as well. So we'll that will definitely be a keep, just because it's a dwarf version. If it had been the big version, no. But next one. No, I haven't. Believe it or not, I haven't. I had no idea what's in this one, but this one will be appreciated in the household. Catmint. So, like a lot of mints, it's a perennial. And yep, they're any sort of mint. Very, very not aggressive plant, but very quick growing. And the only thing to say about mint is don't plant it in your garden. If you're going to plant it in your garden, plant it in a pot, because it'll just grow everywhere. And then trying to get rid of it afterwards is a nightmare. So it's one of those things, plant it. Now, am I going to plant that? That might be in a pot, but I don't know. That can go on the trade pile, and the cats can decide whether we trade that or not. Ploughing on, we've only got a few more to go. This is just a mixed pack of wildflowers, similar to that mix we had a few packets ago. So this has got it says this has got 30 different varieties in it. So there's another ad break coming in on Twitch in a moment. So when we go into the ad break, I'll put a pause on for a minute or so while we have the ads on Twitch, and then we've only got a few more to finish, and then go on. But while I wait for the ads, so yeah. So the wildflowers is another chuck it down and hope for the best. This one you can actually put down now, so that can go out now as well. So that can go on the to do now pile. And according to my system, we're about to go into the ads. And just waiting for the... Oh, you get warned about the ads, but it doesn't always kick in at the same time. But oh well, we'll plough on for the time being. If Twitch goes into the ads, if someone could just put that in the chat, so I know you're watching ads. Next one is a cornflower, another annual plant. It's something you grow now and again. So I was just slightly distracted there. It says you've gone into ads. So I'll give it a minute while Twitch has some exciting ads. Or if Twitch aren't getting exciting ads, they're obviously still listening to me. It's good to see everyone over on YouTube as well. Oh. So it's good. The way Twitch does its ads is very odd. Sometimes you get an ad break and you don't get any ads, and then some people do get ads, and it's I'm very disappointed for Leo, didn't get any website ads. Right. Well, we'll plough on anyway, we've only got a few more to go. So yeah, so we've got cornflower here. So I have done something like that in the past. Am I going to do it? Don't know. Don't know, to be honest. That is probably on a tray. It's probably on the tray pile. Hello, Colleen. Got a couple of people coming on YouTube. Just to explain, it's been raining outside, so we're opening up a box of seeds that I was given, and we have no idea. So we're just working through. So we've got a few more to go. So you haven't missed everything. Yeah, next one is Lefater. Well, I don't know how you even pronounce that. Levatera. I've grown this before. It's a variety I've not seen before, Silver Cup. The ones I've grown before sort of tend to be darker blue, almost purpley colour. So it's quite good. Very similar to you might experience something like a hollyhock, if you know what a hollyhock looks like. So this is quite a good one, because if you see on this one here, it's just got a dark green bar and an orange bar. It's no light green, so this isn't one you'd sow inside anyway. This is a sort of direct sow outside, sort of March, April, May. So that's another easy one to have a go at. I mean, if you sow stuff outside, it's a bit of potluck as to whether they come up. But again, quite a pretty flower. So we'll keep that just because it's so easy to have a go at, and won't fill up the greenhouse. Next one, which we've done before, is a dahlias. This is a dwarf mix, so this is a shorter dahlia. There are lots of different types of dahlias in terms of the colours, also the form of the flowers. There's so many different types. So dahlia is also quite a popular show flower as well. People grow them for sort of the garden shows. I wouldn't necessarily, if it was one of the taller days, I wouldn't be that fussed. But yeah, earwigs. Yeah, there's someone saying that they attract earwigs. Yeah, well, I know there's quite a lot of earwigs around the garden from time to time. So, but we really need the Spike the Hedgehog to come back and clear up a lot of these garden pests. But what height is this one? Yes, this is 50 centimetres, so just under 2 foot, 50 centimetres. Yeah. So that's quite a nice thing, really. Because the one thing I'm conscious of here is that it's quite gusty on this side of the Pennines, and it's quite windy. So anything that's tall really has to be staked here. So I quite like the stuff that's sort of 2 foot and below, because of you don't necessarily have to do that so much. So dahlias, that's definitely on the keep pile, so we'll go for that one. This is something I've never seen or grown. Linum. Looks like it's a summer bedding type plant. Don't know much about it other than that. Oh, and suddenly I'm attracted to it, because if you see, there's no light green line, so it's not an indoor sow plant, it's a direct sow outside. Yeah, flowering all summer, and then going into the autumn. The height is actually similar to the dahlias, so we could actually, I don't know if we can get that both in the screen. So the dahlias are going to be mixed colours, so you could actually plant them together, because they're both going to be about the same sort of height. So yeah, but obviously the dahlias we're going to sow, so they'll go in, and that would be a direct sow. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. Even though it says direct sow, you can still grow them in a pot, and that's probably what I'd do if I was going to mix the dahlias and the linum together. Even though that's direct sow, I'd probably put that in a pot, grow that in a pot, in a large pot or something, and then obviously it makes it easier to plant them together. Calendula or calendula, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but we've had those in the garden. Nice flowers over the summer. Very attractive to the pollinators. And also that they can add that sort of height. But the only thing with this one is, if you see on here, they're recommending to sow in the autumn, August and September, and then you sort of they're sort of over winter, and then they get planted out in the spring. Though it does say actually you can actually direct sow them in the spring as well. So I think the ones I've had before in the garden have come from plug plants. But again, because you can direct sow, you can just put some pots of compost outside, chuck it in the compost, and then you can always replant it at a later point. They are nice flowers though. So we'll do those, keep those, and we're on to the last packet. Which is a hollyhock. And we've got hollyhocks here already. They're hardy perennials, and they have, the ones I've got have got a very long stalk, and then the flower buds come off the sides of it, and it keeps growing. If you imagine Jack and the Beanstalk, it's like that. It keeps growing, and you keep getting flowers coming off it all the time. This variety I've not seen before. The ones I've got are sort of a single sort of open flower. So this one I've not seen before, so we'll definitely be growing this. And as I said earlier, because it's a hardy perennial, that's a very interesting plant to me, really. And I don't know what height this one is going to go to. Yeah, you see, this is going to go to 6 foot, so it's going to be similar to the hollyhocks I've already got. I don't know if you can see that. Sort of that. I don't know if it's officially a sort of pom-pom, but it's that sort of very sort of frilly flower. Yeah, and again, some of these plants are quite interesting because this is the light greens on the bars. So you can either plant it now, February, March, which is traditionally when I've done hollyhock plants. In fact, I haven't sown hollyhocks for about 3 or 4 years because the plants I've had are still going now from then. But then again, you can sow them in the autumn. So actually you should pay more attention to that, because if you can plant stuff in the autumn, keep it in the greenhouse over the winter, and then it can come out in the spring when you've got other stuff going into the greenhouse. So there, I've just given myself a tip. Should be paying more attention. So that's a definite keep. So that's the pile of we're going to trade. That's the pile of maybes, and we'll probably get around to doing, because let's be honest, if I've got the packets, might as well use them. In fact, what's the date on best before dates? It doesn't actually say on that one. And then this is the pile of ones that we've kept. So we'll just go through those. So we've got Bellis, Coropsis, Godetia, Gazania, we've got the Busy Lizzies, we've got Dianthus, thanks Steve for dropping in. We've got a Petunia, Ergoratum, we've got the Lobelia. It's quite good. I'm quite surprised by it. It's quite a good selection box, that. The other thing is, because they're from Thompson and Morgan, you know, they're decent seeds. Some of these collections you see are just sort of unnamed seeds in a packaging. You don't know where the background they've got, but marigold. Start a new pile there. Marigold, zinnia, Elysium. We've got the foxglove. In fact, of all the things, that's probably the one. Well, I say Cosmos was, but that's probably really interests me the most, just because it's such a dramatic plant. Echinacea. Then of course there's good old Cosmos. I won't admit to how many packets of Cosmos I've got of different varieties, but then we've got the baby sunflowers. We've got the wildflower mix, the Lavateria or Lavatura. I suppose it's Tura as in Tura for soil. I don't know. Then we've got the dwarf dahlias, the linums to go with it, the calendula, and then the one we've just done, the hollyhocks. So that's good. That's quite a nice selection, that is, and we've got a few to trade with. I'll just put those. I'll put the trades to one side, keep them separate, so I don't have to sort them out again. So that's the seeds. I'll just I'll just put something in the camera so you can still see it's live. Yeah, it's the mascot of the channel. So that's basically the that packet of seeds. Just to explain what we've got coming up, there'll be a live stream next weekend. It'll be on the Sunday about the same sort of time. Next weekend in the UK is what's called the RSPB Big Bird Watch, where you sit for an hour and you watch and see what birds land in your garden. And we'll probably end up doing that. The forecast over the next week's fairly cold, so I can't imagine there'll be much happening elsewhere in the garden. There's a few things starting to show a bit of life now, so I think as I want to do the bird watch, you might as well do it with other people, and I'll put a couple of cameras up, and then if anyone spots anything they can give us a shout out and we can fill in the paperwork as we go along, really. I think it's basically, I think that's about it, really. I think it's almost time for some lunch. I don't know what everyone's having. I know what I'm having. I'm having some fish. Thank you for everyone who's dropped in and watched. I'm going to attempt to raid out on Twitch first, and then I'll come back to say the goodbyes to YouTube. This is always the entertaining thing on Twitch, is thanks for everyone for putting up with it. Hope you've enjoyed the voice for a change. At least you know what I sound like. And those of you who I drop into the chat on their streams, when you hear one of my terrible jokes, you now know how it should sound in real life. Just going to go into I'll probably see everyone again tomorrow or later today, depending which stream you're on. I think I just saw let's try. I think for Twitch viewers, some of you will probably know where we're going to end up going on a Sunday morning, because we seem to go there every Sunday morning, because I don't think there's a lot of streamers really operating Sunday morning on something. So we'll go over to Debbie CSM. I think quite a few of you have been there. She did some fantastic streams on the beach and so on, and looking at this, she's actually on the beach today. So we'll start that. And I'll come back and say goodbye to YouTube in a sec. So that's starting the raid, hopefully. Right, thank you very much for watching on Twitch, and I'll see everyone very soon. Say hello to Debbie and put in the chat whatever you feel like, assuming it's not derogatory. And I'll probably see you there in a few minutes anyway myself. So we're still on YouTube, I assume. Just going to close down the Twitch channel. Yep, so Twitch have now gone over to Debbie CSM. If you don't know who Debbie CSM is, she's over on Twitch, and she's someone I've met over on the Walking Commuter, but she does lovely streams, either canoeing or she does some music ones, but today she's actually walking on the beach. Thanks everyone over on YouTube. Let's see who we've got over there. Thanks Beauty Love Creative, Colleen, Victoria, D. Michael was here earlier. Two women were over on there. Just going back through the chats. Sorry if I've missed anyone or if anyone's lurking. I'll probably all see you at some point. I'm glad you've heard the voice. You'll hear a lot more of it because I'll be voicing all the videos now. And that's about it really. So take care, have a good rest of the Sunday. And for a lot of you, I'll probably see you in New York at some point tomorrow. Yeah, and I'll just change that over to start closing this down, and I'll transition.